And welcome back to episode 130 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
130. Oh, getting the numbers keep getting higher.
I know. Every week, apparently. Well, nearly
I know
every week.
it's shocking. Well, we are back for another roundup of the week's latest tech stories, interesting articles, and, well, of course, rumours, which, as we get into Apple season, well, we are deep in Apple season. We're not saying getting into Apple season. We're deep in Apple season. So, so we've got a couple more Apple rumours for you this week. One's probably more reality than a rumour. We're going to talk FTX because... this is a story that just gets weirder and weirder. We're going to talk Musk and his pause on AI. Yet is he really? And then we're going to talk about Sega Sammy. Yep, I'm going to leave that one there because I'll tell you now. Until I had to do some read up on this, I got confused too. And also, this week we're going to mention a little bit about Section 31. So if you're thinking, what the hell is Section 31? Clearly, you are not into Star Trek. For those of you that are, Section 31, of course, will make perfect sense. But we will make everything transparent and clear, unlike Section 31, later on in the show. So let's kick things off with FTX then, and Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF as he seems to go by, or everybody goes by now, isn't it?
Indeed. So the liquidators have released their first formal report on FTX, and somehow it appears that things are worse than we thought.
Is that possible?
I mean, it seems like it reading this. It's a car crash. I mean, the high-level summary was basically little to no oversight on its own operations, leadership that stifled dissent, commingling of customer and corporate funds. They lied to investors and the public, well, we know that part, and somehow routinely misplaced millions of dollars of customer funds. Now, I didn't write down the quote, but I know you did. What was the quote about that one?
Oh yes. So FBF wrote in this, isn't it? I quote: "Sometimes we find $50 million of assets lying around that we lost track of. Such is life." SBF.
What? I said to you offline, I wish we had that problem. Just 50 million here, there, down the back of the sofa. Oh, look what I found today.
I'm lucky to find 5p down the back of my sofa, I'll tell you. So
no, I won't find that. The kids have been down there.
50 million. I mean, just utter chaos, isn't it? I mean, like I said, they said, board oversight was effectively non-existent according to the report that's come out.
No, I mean, and the bit that got me was basically they have no internal audit functions or employees with experience of finance, accounting, human resources, or cybersecurity, which would probably explain why virtually all the funds were stored in hot wallets. Now, if anyone doesn't know crypto, hot wallets are basically where you store your crypto assets, but they're permanently online connected to the internet, so they could potentially be hacked and have funds removed from them by an external hacker. So a properly run exchange would probably keep small amounts, enough to do that day's trading in a hot wallet, and everything else was kept in the cold wallets, stored offline, not connected to the internet. There's no way of withdrawing those funds until they're connected to the internet. But apparently they didn't do that. They just kept it all in hot wallets.
Which is ludicrous. And if we've learned anything in the last few years about any of these crypto, I'm going to say it, crypto scams, typically all of them have ended up being either hot wallets that were stolen, wasn't it? Or some of them have been cold wallets that have just disappeared as well, isn't it? That nobody else but the single owner has had access to.
They'll appear at some point 20 years down the line and, slowly siphoned out.
Because that's what happens sometimes, isn't it, with these cold wallets, is that people disappear and they go dormant, and all of a sudden, some point in the future, they come, and they're kind of on a weird kind of tangent. This is the whole thing, isn't it, around the Bitcoin creator? What's his name? Satoshi. Satoshi, isn't it? Oh, I can't remember. Basically the guy who is purporting to be him, isn't it? Craig Wright something, isn't it?
Oh no, he keeps saying he is.
But that's what I'm saying. He purports to be. Craig Stephen Wright purports to be, doesn't he? Satoshi. I'm going to butcher the name. Satoshi. That's it. And basically, everybody says, well, then, if you are that guy, then you need to access the cold wallets that are in his name,
put it
or linked to him.
Do one transaction.
And he keeps saying he doesn't do it, doesn't it? So this is the thing: is with the cold wallet, as you say, it's offline. It's something you can bring back, and if you wouldn't, as you say, if you're running an exchange with the amount of money that
Third
these
largest
guys are,
exchange in the world at one point,
well,
weren't
yeah,
they?
FTX were doing, you wouldn't want that to be, you wouldn't want basically $1.5 billion of assets just sat around where somebody could go, "Ooh, how do I gain access to that?" Isn't it?
Well, I
It's
mean,
just
they had no one with experience of finance, accounting, HR, or more importantly, cyber security. It got worse for that. So apparently, the private keys to the FTX group's crypto assets were stored in a mix of over 1,000 AWS servers. So the actual keys to access these wallets were online in thousands of AWS servers. Now, I didn't say whether they were encrypted or hashed or salted. I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not, considering the track record, which might explain why millions went missing.
this is like a bunch of kids, and that's basically what they were, a
Yeah,
bunch of kids who decided to start up some little hustling business. And of course, have got no experience in running business. And some of the other elements, wasn't it, that there was nothing they showed to the orders. Turned out they were using, was it QuickBooks, Google Documents, Slack, Shared
yeah.
Drive, Excel, and other non-enterprise solutions, according to the statement as well. I'm not suggesting you need to go out there and be paying, I don't know, millions of dollars in software licensing, but start using tools which are designed for this kind of thing. Yeah, QuickBooks, don't get me wrong, very good accounting software, it does what it says on the tin, but not for running multi-billion-dollar enterprises, is it?
No. But I mean, apparently, reading a report, anyone that senior, but below obviously the top three, who tried to implement actual policies was basically sidelined and fired.
Well, this is it. This again, isn't it? Is the whole thing? They had that triad of leadership, didn't they? Where,
Yeah,
as you said, if you weren't in the club, you
yeah.
yeah. Are we, as we said before, are any of us surprised that this has gone down the toilet?
No,
Given that the answer, no. But what you got to keep asking yourself is that this isn't the first time this happens. It just keeps. It's just another notch in a post full of stories of similar track record. And I
yeah.
think this is not helping the cause, in my opinion, either
No, it's
for
not.
crypto.
But then you've got that different mentality, haven't you? The fact that really it needs to be regulated, so stuff like this doesn't go down again. But the whole point of crypto things is they're not regulated; they're untraceable. No government controls them, so you've got a kind of difference of opinion on how to run this here.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And the plus is, if you put the regulation in, you've then kind of killed the whole theory or thesis
Oh,
around.
one of the main selling points, wasn't it? Really, the
Yeah,
whole thing.
exactly. I just,
It's the Wild West, You take your gambles there. I think.
I think he is. I you gamble it. You're right, and do you come off it? I think crypto trading. If you got it in the early days, when Bitcoin was laughable, and people were buying pizzas with
And
Bitcoin,
didn't
which
sell it all like me.
no, I mean and that's the other thing. Now, if you're looking back at it now, people who bought pizza with Bitcoin just be like, how much money did I waste?
I had
But
hundreds of coins that were worth pennies. I mean, they were worth nothing. I used them to buy stuff that was meaningless. I think I wish I'd kept those. But
yeah, you're right.
hindsight.
Yeah, now that now that you're too late to that party. Unless you've got money to burn, so to speak, to buy into it, it's
Yeah,
not going to ever happen, is
exactly.
it?
And you can't go mining like you used to be able to on GPUs.
No, because it's all nerfed.
Certainly not with the price of electricity nowadays.
God no.
No.
It is a crazy point. But yes, so FTX, whilst the court case hasn't carried on yet, this evidence is not going to help their plight anymore, is it?
No, not
Um,
at all.
and I think SBF, and those around him are probably looking at lengthy jail terms when this comes to pass.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so it's they are still within the well, they're still going through the Chapter 11 bankruptcy process in the US, aren't they?
Yep. They are.
Which is part of it. But yeah, I mean, this is absolutely nuts.
The only other one I'd written down that made me laugh. They couldn't actually tell you who worked for the company and who didn't.
I know
They
that
had
was
no
brilliant.
up-to-date list of who was actually employed, which means they had no controls over stopping their access to systems, surely. So people who no longer worked or maybe fired by the company probably still had access to the systems. Uh, yeah, I mean, Anyway, moving on. Like,
I
it's just too stressful to think of that one.
yeah, my brain has just imploded on itself because it's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you want to do what? Like,
Well, ready to have your mind blown again. You've got to love Elon Musk. No, love him or hate him, he makes life entertaining.
he does, he
So
does.
a couple of weeks, a month back, Elon, along with a number of big names, signed an open letter calling for basically a pause on AI development, didn't they? Specifically, anything more advanced than ChatGPT 4. Let's take a breather for 6 months, figure out how we regulate this, etc., etc. Now, obviously, that might be a little odd considering he was a co-founder of OpenAI. The creators of
He
ChatGPT
was,
back
yeah.
in 2015. I say, I want to say not co-creator. He invested in it. Okay, so he wasn't the creator of the things. But anyway, so apparently, since writing and signing that letter, he's purchased over 10,000 GPUs. Now he
That's big
must
money.
really like gaming. Or more realistically, these are actually NVIDIA's H100 and A100s,
which we
specifically
talked about, didn't
designed,
we? Yeah.
yeah, specifically designed for, you guessed it, AI. And
Oh,
he's created a new company, hasn't he? Or a I don't know if it's a company or a subdivision called XAI Corp.
well, all part of his X-Corp holding company, isn't
It,
it?
it is, it is. And to top it all off, he's building a new product. Can anyone guess what this is?
Oh, hang on. Oh, it's something GPT, I think.
It's a gaming company. No, no, no. It's an
No,
AI
no,
company,
no.
Truth GPT. Oh, the tagline, or what he said in an interview: a maximum truth-seeking AI that tries to understand the nature of the universe. So what?
Back it up a bit. So, Elon
Is this
Musk,
something to do with
basically,
this 420 and smoking lots of it?
yeah. So that's right. So last month they registered a firm, as you say, called X.AI. So it's a very
Yeah.
new company. Sole director is Musk. Managing director um, is secretary, who is sorry. The secretary is the managing director of Musk's family company.
Yeah.
So it's a very small thing. And as you're right, this 6 month pause that him and a group of experts and industry people have called for, because they feel that ChatGPT and others are a risk to society. And okay, I don't think anybody who is in the industry disagrees that that if we continue to pursue some of the areas of AI, we're not
Yeah.
going to cause ourselves to have Skynet and kill ourselves, but we are probably causing some risk to established industries. We could come up with, ethical issues around it. We're not talking about, what in his words are civilization destruction.
I
Um,
don't know. He wants to put this in Teslas, and they're just like 2 or 3 ton death
Well, that's
machines,
the well,
aren't
that's
they?
that's
So,
that's the truth. That's the truth,
ah,
GPT, is that but the Chat GPT piece, right? I mean, look,
yeah,
I'm a big fan of it. I am. I think it's
you
very
are.
clever. Bard is not so clever, in my opinion. Bard is very different. Chat GPT. I mean, I'm not going to go into specifics, but I've used it several times now in my professional and private life to do different things, and it has been very successful.
It has, yeah,
Very. Now, but I stress this a lot, and we joke about this in our own industry, right? You could be as clever in a way. In our industry, jokingly, it's how well can you use Google. Anybody can use Google, but how well can you give it a prompt and interpret the outcomes of it? That's the key.
yeah.
And the same is with ChatGPT or similar. It is about how nuanced are the prompts and what do you do with the output? Because you can
It's
ask
a
it
tool.
anything. Yeah, exactly. And if you've got to learn how to use the tool properly, I'm not suggesting that I am an expert in it, not at all, but I'm getting more familiar with the concept of how it works and the outcomes of it and how to generate better responses with it. And actually, I do think there is great use in it. Now, his chat GPT, his truth GPT, as you say, this maximum truth seeking AI, uh, almost kind of sounds like the thing that he wants to stop building, isn't it?
Well, I think obviously the industry have brought this up. I think he's just put his name against it, hoping to buy himself 6 months for Truth GPT to catch up.
Yeah, of course it is, like a lot of things.
Yeah.
And
No one does that, then goes out and buys tens of thousands of GPUs.
no, and he said that the reason that he departed from OpenAI, wasn't it, that he had a lot of manufacturing and issues with Tesla and SpaceX, and apparently, I think we talked about this before, wasn't it, that Tesla were trying to hire some of the same people as OpenAI, and the kind of, he felt that it was better to step away. To me, this does sound more and more like him now throwing his toys out the pram because he's like,
Well, he
rubbish.
wanted to. He wanted to run. OpenAI as well,
Yeah.
and they turned him down. So that didn't help.
No, an open AI now is leaps and bounds ahead of the competition. We know that from the Microsoft investment into them, which probably upsets Musk highly.
Oh, massively.
But the Truth GPT thing is an interesting point. It does make you wonder what actually his outcome here is. Putting it into the cars could be very clever, but on the other hand, then how do you convert something that runs on all of that back end? Because that's the other thing. Remember here, this is not something at this stage in time that you could condense to run on a local platform such as Tesla or
No,
PC, is it?
no.
This is data center spec power, computing power, isn't it?
Big data center spec. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of generation. And I just I wonder what the outcome here. And I think as you say, the outcome here is actually for him to play catch up, not for them to build some, I don't know, ethical question. I mean, when I read that, to be honest with you, Max of True CKAI. What was it? Because it's a
Tries
statement
to
here.
understand the nature of the universe.
Okay, back it up. That is got to be almost a line from Douglas Adams's,
Hitchhiker's Guide.
yeah, because isn't that the supercomputer that they asked for? Tells what the secret of the universe is.
Yeah.
42.
42.
And let's be honest, that sounds to me like the kind of thing why they built it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
So 42? Yes, but what is the question? And that's where they leave him.
Exactly. 42 is the answer to everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
The answer to the ultimate life, question of life, the universe, and everything, calculated by the supercomputer named Deep Thought. It took it 7.5 million years, mind, but as you say, no, nobody knows what the question is. And that kind of, ironically, it feels like what he's doing here. Musk is he's got the biggest messiah complex on this planet, at the moment.
Hasn't he?
Because what's the other? Isn't he? Neuralink. Neuralink is close to doing supposedly human trials. You can almost kind of think, oh my god, is there some giant plan here to link together Neuralink, Chat, Truth
I won't
GPT?
be signing up for Neuralink.
What, you don't want me to plug something in your head?
No, I'm okay. Maybe in the future. Not saying no, but I'm not convinced by Musk on this one. Would you want to be the guinea pig?
Yeah, no, you're okay.
No, exactly.
But yes, so Musk causes for pause on AI while spending millions on his own project. Oh yes.
Yeah.
If there was anybody else, you would laugh, but with him, it's just another day at work.
It is. So speaking of millions, somebody's been flashing the cash recently.
A lot of millions.
And yeah, as we were speaking just before, this kind of threw us. So Sega Sammy, who? You mean
Exactly.
Sega? No. Sega
No.
Sammy. So apparently Sega Sammy was a merger between Sega and Sammy Corporation back in 2004. And I'd never heard of this.
No, I'm going to go on record here of saying that when I saw this story, and I initially thought I read it as Sega wants to acquire, Rovio, who we'll talk about a bit more detail in a second. I was like, and then the next update was Sega Sammy. I was like, who the hell is Sega Sammy? I was like thinking, is that some developer arm of Sega that that builds something? But no, you're right. 2004, Sega Sammy Sega Sammy Group is a giant holding company formed from the merger of Sega, who as we know is gaming machines and gaming software, with the Sammy Corporation. Now, Sammy Corporation, completely unknown to me. Turns out that they are another company involved in the amusement arcade industry. They make, again, I think if I pronounce this correctly, was it Pachinko machines? I think that's the right way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Which are very big in Japan, aren't they? Massively big,
huge,
aren't they?
Yeah.
So I think, and as I understand it, they're very similar to a slot machine that gives you kind of a prize, but you have to then convert the tokens to a prize at a separate place.
You remember
it's very
that
convoluted.
One on the old, you still have them in the UK at the amusements at the beach, don't you? You do your game, you get your tokens, you take your tokens somewhere else, and you have to get 10 million tokens to get a pencil or whatever it is.
But this is to do with a loophole in Japanese law because gambling for cash is highly illegal in Japan.
Yeah.
But these are a kind of a loophole because Pankachiko is exceptionally popular, and basically means that now you win what effectively looks like ball bearings from the machine.
Yeah.
And as you say, you can't. Then you have to take
You have to
them.
move to a different premises, do you? To
Yeah,
then convert
another
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Where you can then convert them for um,
Ah. I'm
uh,
selling my ball bearings, and that gets me £20. Is something
oh,
like that, yeah?
you're gonna give me an equivalent prize value of it. So yeah, so you basically you take it to a separate off vendor,
Yeah.
which apparently are independent from the gambling or
Of
Pachinko
course
hall,
they are.
but funnily enough, are owned by the same company. Yeah, you worked that one out. They then sell the tokens back. So you'll get your prize token, and
Yeah.
you then they're sold for cash, as you say, and then the prize vendor sells the tokens back to the gaming hall for the same price. Um,
Yeah. Not related at all. But yeah. So that's Sega Sammy. Yeah.
yeah.
They've apparently just bought Rovio, of Angry Birds
And-
fame.
oh, I mean, is that still a thing?
Well, yes, apparently. Yeah, I mean, all I know is them from Angry Birds. They've made a million different versions of it. And
And a
of
film?
course, they've got the two films. There's Angry Birds 2. But they haven't really diversified since then. Don't know of any other game franchises they've made. It's just all Angry Birds. But Sega Sammy have obviously seen enough in them to pay a cool €706 million for them.
No, not a lot then.
No, I mean, well, not as much as what they were once worth. That's apparently €9.25 a share. 10%. That's 10% above the share price before the announcement, but that's still 20% below the price it went public with 5 years ago.
Yeah, this is the problem, is it? Obviously, they went public during the boom time of Angry
They
Birds. When
did,
Angry Birds was
yeah,
anywhere, I mean, I remember I used to go to for business. I used to go to a hotel in Amsterdam, and in the lifts they had iPads mounted in the lifts,
yeah.
with Angry Birds on them.
Really? Wow. Okay.
As you were going in the lift, you could have a quick flick game of Angry Birds.
Why not? Why not?
I've not been back there since post COVID, so I suspect they've probably gone now. But
I imagine so. But according to analysts, this is apparently Sega's bid. So their bid for Rovio, it's driven by an ambition to build a super game, along the lines of Fortnite or Minecraft, that creates like a large global community of gamers and brings them all together.
good luck.
I don't think Angry Birds for that. And if they've not built anything else in the, I don't know, whatever, how long they've been around for, 10, 15 years or
Oh,
whatever
it
it
must be,
is.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Are they going to have the expertise to build anything other than Angry Birds or anything other than a 2D kind of thing? I don't know. Yeah. What? I just don't understand this one.
I suspect, though, is it the fact that you could argue Rovio have got experience in building, a brand, and they've got the back end infrastructure
Yeah.
to develop the games. Sega have got the expertise in publishing games. They've got the expertise in driving, all of that
Yeah.
forward. In theory, you could argue that this could be a good match. But you're right, Rovio haven't got they've not like say got another successor to Angry Birds where they've gone, this is fantastic, and we've launched I don't know very cross pelicans,
Yep.
I don't know where that came from, but that's what I'm saying. You're right. There isn't like a stable of games here where they've taken the success of one and built it into another. They're
No.
still trading off Angry Birds up to
Still making a
70%.
profit,
Well,
apparently.
up to 70% though of Rovio's or Rovio or Rovio, his profit comes from Angry Birds. Now, when you look at the games they developed, there's a whole mixture of weird games like Desert Sniper, Darkest Fear. They were churning out Java-based games for the best part of the 2000s. So the
Right.
early 2000s, they were bouncing. They started off with. Do you remember the old N-Gage from Nokia?
The N-Gage. I remember that one. Yep. The
Yeah,
console that also was a phone.
yeah. Well,
Or was that
basically,
phone that was console?
this is it. They churned. Their first was an N-Gage game in 2008 called
Okay.
Bounce Boing Voyage. Yes.
Right.
And then basically throughout that, they've just no, sorry, no, that wasn't their first game. Sorry, that was one of the first. Sorry, they're one of the first games. I should argue. Their first game was back in 2003, which was a Java-based game.
Yeah.
But again, as I say, they've done the Engage and things like that. But since 2009, pretty much, apart from a less than you can count one hand, every other game they've released since 2009 to 2022 has been Angry Birds.
It has. And I suppose they are the masters of pay to play now.
Well, yeah.
Along
Plus,
with
they
Candy Crush, it's all about getting those microtransactions, and
well, it
that's a lot
is.
of what Minecraft, to an extent, you buy add-ons for that, and they do actually add value, and it's not a consistent thing. But Fortnite is very much the same, though, isn't it? It's pay to play. You buy all your little add-ons and your microtransactions, I should say.
Yeah, and if you look at it as well with with Rovio, they've diversified because you've had what's it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 TV series around Angry Birds
Really?
currently running at the moment, and they actually, and as you pointed out, there's not just been one, but there's been two Hollywood movies. The first one grossed $352 million on a $73 million budget, and
Okay.
the second one did 152 on a $65 million budget. So not quite as successful, but
Still made a profit though.
still made a profit. Now, we're not talking again. This, let's be frank here. This is a very classic case of sticking to what you know, isn't it?
Yes, of course, very much so.
But and I wonder, as you say, the pay to play argument is probably where they're going here. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what actually comes out of this. I suspect it'll take some time. Sega wants to do more in mobile gaming because they've diversified massively from their traditional business,
Yeah.
haven't they? Around arcades, and I mean, look, we grew up on that, didn't we? Sega arcades. I mean,
Pumping those tempies in, yeah.
I could just and my first experience of VR was back in the early 90s
Oh
on a
yeah, mine was.
Sega. G-Lock in the old. Remember G-Lock in the
Was
360
that the
degree
plain
spinner?
one?
Yeah,
Yes, that
yeah.
was the plain one. Yeah, that was my first experience. I love that game.
It's just, again, it's just all of these things that are that remind me of my childhood. But everything comes to pass, doesn't it? That are good. And I think Sega has floated from memory since the end of the console wars. And now we've got really Sega as a developer, aren't they? Publisher, probably more to the point, really.
Yep.
I'd say, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So Sega Sammy buys Rovio then, and we're going to
Well,
get
obviously it's not through yet, though, is it? It's still
no,
going to
but
wait for to be approved. So we'll see. But I can't see any problem with it. There's nothing glaring that says it'll be an issue.
no, there's going to be. I can't see any regulatory issue with this one. It's not going to upset the pay-to-play market's too big for that. Given that the other players usually say King and all those kind of other players. They're interestingly though. Back in early January this year, they did receive a higher offer, didn't they, from another based?
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So back in January, just to kind of close out that, they received an $810 million offer from Playtika, based in Israel.
Okay.
But the talks had ended in March. So this is a lower offer, isn't it, from Sega? But is it? I wonder the pedigree, the back end of Sega,
Yeah.
that gives you that kind of better to take the deal.
I think so.
But so the shareholders, I think the board and the shareholders have accepted on this. But you're right; it's just got to be put through, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, interesting times ahead. So then, slight diversion from the usual. We are obviously big fans of Star Trek on this show, and currently this week is the final episode of Star Trek Picard,
Yes,
which
it is.
which I should add has just dropped into my download box. By the way,
has it? What
episode 10.
That's out early, isn't it?
Well, that's what I was puzzled about. I'm like, is that dodgy or not? Anyway,
Okay.
episode 10, which is coming out, which is called The Last Generation, isn't it? I think is the next episode. But if we take a step back from that, we also are awaiting the next episodes of Strange New Worlds, which is set in the original timeline space. Which was a spin-off from Star Trek Discovery. Now, those who've been following Star Trek Discovery, which was probably the earliest canon entry into Star Trek lore. What I mean by that is that apart from the Star Trek Enterprise, it takes us back before Kirk's Enterprise into that timeline there. And obviously, for those that watch it will know that the Discovery is now in the 32nd century, so way beyond anything that's happened elsewhere. But before they did that, they had several characters, including Michelle. I can't remember how it's said. Michelle Yeoh, isn't it? Who you may know that she recently won an Oscar for Everywhere, Everything, All at Once, which
Yes,
is
we
a
did.
very good
Yeah,
sci-fi film. And in Star Trek Discovery, she played two characters.
she
She
did.
played the captain in the first few episodes of Philippa
Giorgio.
Giorgio, who was the captain of the Shenzhou, which was the initial thing. But she also played Emperor Georgia. I can't.
Philippa
Emperor Philip
Giorgio. Yeah.
Philippa Georgia, excuse me, who was in the Mirror Universe, wasn't she?
Yes.
Who was a brutal leader of the Mirror Universe. And we won't go into all that now because that could take
No.
another several hours. But she hopped through the Mirror Universe into the Prime Universe, and went from being the bad guy, didn't she, to kind of I don't want to say a
Yeah.
good guy, but kind of like playing her own game, but
Yes. Yes.
you know,
And ultimately ended up in Section 31, didn't she? Which is kind of a Black Ops division of Starfleet intelligence.
it is. It's actually they had a bit of a checkered history, isn't it, within the Star Trek kind of
Mm,
lore.
yes, I mean, according to the old canon, obviously it's in the original Starfleet Charter, Article 14, Section 31, which basically allowed for extraordinary measures to be taken in times of extreme threat. Basically, these are the guys you send in to clear up your mess and then deny all knowledge of their existence.
Yeah, and don't forget, Starfleet is not a military organization, apparently.
No, no, this is very much a military organisation, Section 31.
Yeah, section as you say. So yeah, so the section one is there to, as you say, do the stuff that when we look the other way, isn't it? The
Yes,
section 31.
exactly.
What would you say? When you want something dirty done, they are the people that go in. So they've been around, as you say, since kind of the formation of Starfleet. But we heard rumors of them in the original series. There wasn't too many, I guess, references to them, was there?
No.
But in Discovery, of course, we had Enterprise with Scott Bakula. They were mentioned about them, weren't they?
They keep popping up every now and then, don't they? You don't
Yes,
hear
right.
too much about them.
No, and there's several, kind of things, and they show up in DS9, and as you say, they're woven in between, and they also showed up in the Kelvin universe, which is the oh god, what's his
The
name?
films, yeah.
Films by God, I can't think of his name.
J.J. Abrams?
J.J. Abrams. Thank you very much. In the Kelvin universe, they had the Section 31 place in London, didn't they? They got bombed in the alternative reality.
They did, yeah.
But yes, in the Discovery timeline or Discovery things, Section 31 were there to kind of, I guess, clean up the mess of what happened there. And Philippa Giorgio joined them because how else do you keep somebody from the Mirror Universe from, I guess, causing a problem in the Prime timeline? So
So,
she has gone off
yeah.
there. So we were expecting a series, wasn't there? There's been
Yeah,
rumors for a long
TV
time
series for a while, wasn't it?
around a TV series, but now it's come out that actually this is going to be a film, isn't it? Rather than
Yes,
a
indeed,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know when they're going to start filming or when this will be out. I thought Section 31, the TV series, would be out this year, but I'm obviously not now. It's a film, so I'm going to guess next year maybe we get this one out. But, yeah, I mean, I'm up for a new film. Why not?
Well, they've been, as you said, it's been teased for quite a few years now, isn't
It
it? Since
has,
about
yeah.
this, I think about probably what's it beyond the second or third series of Discovery. It's been teased, and then obviously with the announcement of the Picard series, it was confirmed back in 2019 that this was in development. And Picard kind of and Strange New Worlds kind of leapt forward, didn't they? And with Star Trek Discovery finishing next year, was it this year? I can't remember. No, it's next year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Discovery with the fifth series. This is probably a good time to have, but we haven't had any new Star Trek films in the Prime timeline, if that makes sense, have we?
No.
For some time. What was the last one? Nemesis? Yeah, got to be in it. Nemesis was the last one in the Prime timeline.
Oh, yeah. That was Next Generation. So, yeah, it would have been, Nemesis.
Yeah, so we've had Star Trek films, to be clear, because we've had the J.J. Abrams films, but there's been no Prime timeline films, I'd say, since Star Trek Nemesis.
Yeah.
So we now, I think it's a good time to have a film here. This is going to show, unsurprisingly, on Paramount Plus. No, make show shocks there. Apparently, it's going to bring in production later this year, but again, no dates have been given, as you see.
Ah.
So the press release says that, according to Michelle Yeoh, in the press release, Section 31 has been near and dear to her heart since she began the journey of playing Philippa all the way back when the golden age of Star Trek was launched with Star Trek Discovery. To see her finally get her moment, and she's talking about Philippa Giorgio, to get her moment is a dream come true in a year that showed me the incredible power of never going up in your dreams. We can't wait to share what's in store for you. Until then, live long and prosper, unless Emperor Giorgio decrees otherwise. End quote. She is a phenomenal actress. If you haven't seen Everything All at Once, I highly recommend that. It also stars who's oh my god, my brain's gone. It also stars the other male who got Best Actor for it, who was in The Goonies, and also in Indiana Jones. What is his name? He took a break from acting, didn't he? Kui K Hu Kwan. I'm sorry if I butchered that. He played Data in Goonies, and he played Short Round in Temple of Doom.
Ah, yes, of course. Yep.
And he won, and basically he gave up acting for many years.
Okay.
And then he came back, and he then, as you say, won an actor for for this Everything Everywhere All at Once, which he got a Golden Globe and a Screen Actors Guild Award as well. So what a phenomenal second half to his career, I should say.
Definitely.
So yeah, Section 31. Okay, so let me fire up and it's time for the rumor mill. Well,
it is. Well, this is not a rumor about the VR AR headset from Apple, which should be announced at WWDC this year. This is about the one that we've talked about before. We're really looking forward to when the technology is right. Is their AR glasses? So our favourite Ming-Chi Kuo. He's put a new research note saying don't expect them anytime soon. Now he says we're not looking at mass production until 2026 or 2027 at the earliest, so a way off there, I think. But in his research note, he goes on to talk about not the metaverse, but meta lenses. I'm trying to work out what these are. So these are basically flat lenses, but they're capable of focusing light. So you usually need a curved lens to focus light, but apparently these new flat lenses will be able to do that, and that will allow them to be a lot lighter, a lot smaller and thinner than the AR glasses you use. But I think there's more technology that needs to be honed in before that, isn't there? With better batteries, where's the processing going? Is this going to be in the glasses itself? Is this going to be in your phone or a device you strap to your waist or something? Not sure. A lot to be figured out before there, and hence why I think he's put the 26, 27 timeline there.
Yeah, this is There's a lot of moving parts here in this story here, but I think as you say, this is not the headset. This is the glasses, the kind of glasses you wear, I wear, Tim Cook wears. And you're right. This is almost a spiritual successor to Google Glass in respect, isn't it? Where you can wear them all day long and have the generated content. I mean, this is utopia, because having kind of overlays looking at my glasses, kind of a direction finding.
Definitely.
In a UI which I really hope will be plausible, as opposed to kind of some weird overlay of Universal Soldier, if you're old enough to remember that.
Well, I just taking a laptop out for work and be able to just have extra screens appear in my vision there to give me multi-monitored but on the go.
I mean, that would be cool. I don't deny that. That would be cool. I think there's a lot of options here that could be done. The problem is, and I think his quote is around the technology needs to catch up with the reality. And to squeeze all that down into small frames. This isn't necessarily just about the glass. This is about the computing power, isn't it? And doing that, are they going to be coupled with your phone? Probably likely, but wirelessly, how do you get that data bandwidth going? This is all of those things, isn't it? That they kind of need to overcome. And I think we'll know it's ready when you see Tim Cook wearing a different pair of glasses, and that will be like, hang on a minute.
I think you've got the other one. It's not just using indoors. If you're wearing prescription glasses, you wear them everywhere. So they've got to be able to project a bright enough image, hasn't it, that it works in direct sunlight. There's no point having it if it doesn't work outside, especially if you're paying for a prescription version of it.
Exactly. It needs to work in all conditions, and you need to be able to see it. You need to be able to understand. Be able to I guess superimpose the data, everything you want there, not without going, oh, that's blurry, or I can't see anything now because my eyes are blinded by this beam of light. But yeah, the technology needs to be there. The lens capabilities there. This is kind of where everybody's going to want to be heading, isn't it? But what will be interesting to see whether or not they reference any of this in the coming, not necessarily dub, but in the next year or so, around where the vision goes. If that makes sense, Um,
Definitely, yeah.
Apple obviously don't like to announce too much before it's released. We won't look at you charging pad. What's it called? Power mat. But this
Air
is the way
power,
it's
that was
called.
the
Air
one.
power. That's the one. Yeah. So rubbish. I couldn't even remember what it was called. But yeah, 2026 probably seems more plausible, to be realistic about this, isn't it? I mean,
It does, yeah.
27 or 26. And Quo. Okay, he's got a pretty good hit rate. Let's be honest. He's not unusually wrong on these things. But I think we got to play. You've got to play it safe here and actually think about what technology is available today
Yeah.
versus what is the vision. And both those things are not aligned at this time.
No, not at all. So we'll wait. I mean, we'll get there eventually, hopefully. But yeah, something that's coming a bit closer, and obviously it's going to be announced at WWDC is iOS 17. I'd be absolutely shocked if it wasn't announced at WWDC.
What?
Yeah. So according to Mark Gurman, iOS 17, Apple's allegedly building the groundwork for sideloading of apps. Now, if you remember, this is pretty much guaranteed that they're going to have to do it. The EU's mandating it with the is it the Digital Markets
Digital
Act,
Markets
DMA?
Act, DMA. Yeah.
That's the one, DMA. So they're going to force Apple's hand here. So at this point, we expect to hear something, but it's kind of unclear if this means with iOS 17 you'll be able to actually sideload apps, or this is just Apple building the mechanisms in. I mean, my bet it's going to be the mechanisms, and it won't be enabled until they absolutely have to at the very last moment. They'll flick that switch and allow you to do it.
So yeah, I think you're right. So the DMA comes into force in 2024.
Yes.
Um, now is that 2024 midnight on the 1st of January? I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
it's, from what I understand, it's March.
Yeah, which would be before iOS 18 is out, or even talk of iOS 18 at WWDC. So yeah, I think they have to have it there, but you're not
I
going to
think
see it actually
no,
enabled to the
no.
last minute.
So I believe that the requirements of the DMA have to be done by the 6th of March 2024. That's kind of the
Right.
cutoff point. So it'll be that's fully applicable by then, yeah. Unless you have according to the wording, unless you have a well substantiated argument.
Which they'll be
That is,
creating at the moment, obviously, and trying
yeah.
to push.
So I get where they're going. We, as much as my views on sideloading, I think, to be honest with you, for the majority, and I shoot me down, but for the majority of users, this will not be something they will want to need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And
For
yeah,
majority
majority.
of users, right? There is a small subset of users who will want to do this. There will be developers who will want to do this because it will mean that they can circumvent some of the app store regulations.
Yeah.
But Apple will make this, from a security standpoint, as stringent as they can. And there will be things like, I imagine, things like the Mac Gatekeeper capability built in, where you can only install apps from trusted sources and or third party developers. But that's what these are going to have to be signed applications, because as you and I both know, you've been able to sideload apps on iOS for donkey's years. This isn't
Yeah, cool.
new.
No.
You can do it through an MDA, you can do it through an MDM, excuse me, mobile device management platform.
Yeah.
And you can do that with self-sign certs. You don't have to have the full Apple signing certs for it. It can be done in a very different approach. So Apple, I think, will, the mechanisms there. It's now opening it up, as you say, to developers to do it, and I think Apple are going to make probably they're going to put in the capability to do it. But you're right, it will not be something that will be switched on probably until about the .3 release, I reckon, of iOS 17. So
At least.
if you're talking March, it'll be dropped in there probably towards the end of iOS 17's development cycle.
Yeah.
And will probably then be enabled with a full release in iOS 18. That's my view. You'll be able to do it. I think you'll be able to do it
Yeah.
towards the end, towards early part of next year. But it will be one of those things that they'll talk about when they launch iOS 17. Like Apple always does.
Yeah.
They talk about certain features, don't they? And then those features don't get enabled until like the .3 or the .4 release.
Wait.
We've seen it.
Wait. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it so many times before with them, with capability. Remember, like with portrait mode, all that kind of stuff. Dot
Yes.
2, dot 3 release, and I think that's exactly what you're going to see here with that capability. It's going to have to happen. As much as my view on it, it will happen. But I think they'll play it down. That's just an opinion.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right. It'll be the very last minute when our hand is forced.
Yeah, exactly. They're not going to do anything else. Apple, for them, this is the holy grail of everything, breaking it, isn't it? From where
Yeah.
they're concerned, so they're not going to want to do anything to to basically weaken the security of iOS. Given everything that's happened in the last few years around mobile security, the last thing that you want or Apple are going to want to do is basically poke holes in their little wall garden any more than they have to.
Yeah.
This is
No
going to be a
doubt.
very well crafted door, isn't it? you know,
Yep. Yep. You're right.
you know. So yeah, so there we go. That is it. Anything else? Have we got anything else to sit in the bucket, or is that
No,
just
no,
it? I
that's
think that's
it.
it.
That's it for today.
Well, it's probably a good place for us to wrap up for this week then. We will be back next week for episode 131 of all the latest roundups and show notes, all the latest information on the show, the latest tech stories. Of course, you can find all of our show notes at techrant.online, and we are still on Twitter despite the exodus at Weekly Tech Rant, where you can find us, and as well, of course, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. So please send us a like, share, tell your friends about us, or get in touch if you think we're talking absolute rubbish. We'd be happy to hear from you. With that, I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Have a good one, all.